It's my first time doing this, so we'll see how it goes. So I'd like to welcome everyone. So today we're going to talk a little about drones, UAS. First, I want to introduce introduce myself. If you don't know who I am, I know there's a few people online that I do know. My name is Russell McClanahan. I'm the IRIC facility manager, but one of my other hats is I'm the UAS coordinator for campus. A new position for me, or new duties for me to take over, so bear with me. Some of the UAS stuff I'm still learning. If there's questions that I don't know, I definitely can direct to someone that may be able to help you. But we're going to get started. This is not going to take the full hour, that's by far, that's for sure. So our main objective today, we're just going to just give a brief overview to promote awareness on UAS policies for here on campus, to promote some understanding of potential UAS uses. We have some great projects going online. I've seen some come through since I took over duties as UAS coordinator, and we also have some great resources on campus for UAS users. And also I want to just share some knowledge how limited it is on UAS policy and procedures here on campus. And I want to give the former UAS coordinator a little shout out to this. He's the one that actually made this presentation. I just changed the name on it. So Dan Lahan was the former UAS coordinator. He went off to bigger and better things. So I just wanted to give him a little shout out for this little PowerPoint. So today's flight plan, we'll be talking briefly about APM 4535. That's the APM here on campus, the primary APM that oversees UAS operations here on campus. There is a couple other APMs I'll touch briefly that do have some interactions with UAS, mainly if it's public or if they're using private or university property. But APM 45 is the main one. It goes over UAS operations, how to do UAS waivers. We'll talk about waivers here a little bit, and other points of awareness for UAS here on campus. And we'll also kind of briefly talk about the UAS application process to apply to use UAS in research and business, not just here on the Moscow campus, but around the state. And I've lived here on the Palouse for 20 years, and after looking at this picture this morning, I realized I know where this is at. This is actually taken in between Palouse and Colfax, Washington, if you're curious about where this picture was taken. So UAS, everyone I think should probably know what a UAS is. It's an unmanned aircraft systems or aerial systems that is operated without the possibility of direct human intervention from within or on the aircraft. So it's unmanned. Everything we talked about, we're talking about small UAS. That's that half a pound roughly up to 55 pounds. Like I was telling my son, he got this tiny little drone for Christmas that you could hold in the palm of your hand. That probably would fall under that 0.55 pounds. That wouldn't be really covered under us. The UAS policy here on campus. And I don't think we have any projects on campus that are actually active projects or active drones that are above 55 pounds. If we do run into something that's a UAS that's over 55 pounds, there's definitely some additional stuff we need to kind of address through the FAA to operate something that large. So we're talking about small UAS. And to give you an idea about what a small UAS, it's about the size of a half pound of butter. So that's about 2 sticks of butter. APM 4535 overseas, that's our primary APM, is public use of drones, civil use, and model aircraft. It also kind of goes into some, I'm not going to get into too much of the 44807 waivers. That's mainly for the waiver. 44807 is the FAA for what we can do as a university to keep within state and federal regulations. Individual users probably wouldn't have to worry about 44807 waivers. With individual, if we're going to be doing any waivers, most likely you're going to be dealing with 107 waivers. And we'll touch on 107 waivers here shortly. And also the APM kind of goes over our UAS committee. We now have a 6-member committee. This committee is my go-to. They're the ones that are actually reviewing the applications and saying, is it approved, or if it's not approved, or they recommend approval. They don't actually approve it. It actually goes on to the VP of Research for final approval. Right now, the VP of Research is designated, we have a designee, Arch Harner is our designee for final approval for UAS flights. Now there's two different things between, there's what you hear quite often, waivers and authorizations. Authorizations are usually often granted when you're flying in controlled airspace. While a waiver is, let's say you want to do, we'll talk about a little bit more waivers, but waivers are like if you want to fly at night. So like we're talking about extended periods versus an authorization is usually like a specific time frame. Great example is if you want to fly down in Boise at Boise State during a football game. They have the open air stadium. You would have to get an authorization because that's considered controlled airspace. Now, if you wanted to do flights at night, then you would have to go through a waiver. But the Office of Research would be able to assist you if you want to do operations where you need to do some waivers or specific authorizations that are outside the norm. Now, right now you think about the primary, a lot of times you want to hear about Section 107 is things you want to do if you want to do a waiver. These are the main things you hear about if you want to do waiver. Before I go into these, I want to let you know these are actually going to change. Back in December of 2020, the FAA put out a summary where there is going to be some changes coming down the road about flying at night or flights over people. Has not went into effect yet, so eventually there's going to be some changes in here where you won't have to get waivers to do flights at night. But for now, we still have to do that. It's probably going to be 6 months to a year before there's any changes with the Section 107 for these potentially waivable things. But you're looking at flights from moving vehicles, nighttime operations, beyond line of sight operations, some requirements for visual observers, multiple UASs. It's really cool. You see some of those displays. Now you're starting to see more of those displays where they use huge numbers of UAS for nighttime shows. Those are really cool. But you have to get some really special waivers to do those type of work. And of course, flights over people. And then there's some airspace and operating limits where you right now have to get waivers to do. Now, when you want to fly drones on campus, this is what some of the things you really kind of need to start thinking about. Is like who is flying the drone and who does owns the drone. Because even if it's a contractor or a third-party individual that's doing work for you, they still have to go through the UAS process. That means the approval process, that their pilots have to be properly licensed, so Section 107 licensing. The drone has to be insured, and they have to provide an insurance documentation that drone is insured. And then the drone itself has to be compliant with FAA regulations. Now, if it's owned by the university, of course, we want to make sure it's properly registered by the FAA. You do that through their drone zone. I can assist that with that. up until I took over, and this is not my one of my primary duties, is we used to help individuals do the registrations. Now we're requesting owners of their drones to do the registration themselves and then provide the number to us. Of course, the drone has to be insured. We have a form online. Of course, I see Carrie online. She could help answer any questions about the insurance. But drone has to be registered, has to provide information to risk management. I can assist with that to get that drone insured before any operations can be done. And then, of course, again, the drone has to be compliant with the AFA regulations, and the Office of Research Assurances can assist with determining that drone is within regulations. Now, if it's a personal use, this is where we've kind of run into some sticking points. This falls under APM 9535. This is where if you are a student or a faculty or staff and you have a personal drone and you want to fly it on university property, well, technically that is prohibited, except if you get approved by the Executive Director of Public Safety and Security. That falls under 9535. But we've had some instances where we had a private user fly a drone, got some great footage, and then turn around and say, oh, I got this great footage, and they basically sell, I don't know if they've sold it, but next thing you know, the university is using that footage. That's technically a no-no. If there's any way possible that you're going to be flying and that footage is going to be used by the university, it has to get reviewed by the UAS committee. One of the things we've kind of done to help kind of correct that communication is the Executive Director for Public Safety is now on our UAS committee. So if he gets a request in, he can share that with our committee. And so we have that communication between Public Safety and Security and the Office of Research. So if we have these public usages on campus, it's shared to more than just public safety. Now, if you're new to flying drones, or you've got one, you haven't done it, or if you want to do some drone work, but you don't have a drone, you don't have the funding to do a drone, this is one of our great resources here on campus is NKN. NKN has their own fleet of drones. This is the Northwest Knowledge Network. But this is some of the work that they've done to help people out, or done for individuals, forest monitoring, aerial imagery. So if you're new to drone usage and you want to get into it, but you don't have your own drone, reach out to NKN. Now, if you're doing university business like creative services or other, I would reach out to creative services. Melissa Hartley is on our committee. Now, University Creative Services has their own fleet of drones also, and licensed pilots. They can actually assist you also. Unfortunately, I don't have a slide for creative services, and also I don't have a slide for our drone lab, which is located here in IRIC. That's where I'm at, is here in IRIC. We have a drone lab in IRIC second floor, IRIC 205. Dr. Jason Carl is the primary PI on that. And Dr. Carl, again, also is on the committee, and he's a great resource. The drone lab has specialty cameras, specialty drones that can assist you if you want to do some drone flight. So that being said, you got the drone, you got it insured, you're ready to do some flight.